Well, hi, friends. Well, it's time for our weekly Lenormand reading. Today is Monday, September 29th. We're in Libra season. Let's see what Spirit will have for us this week. First card out. Oh, it's the garden. The garden are shared spaces. It can be networking, but it's where we come together, right? Kind of like, church or group therapy or what else would it be? Networking at noon, all the places that we come together and collaborate and fellowship and, just like minds coming together, right? It's not just that. I mean, it can be, but it can also be, maybe to agree to disagree. So, it's not always is it, agreeable. Certain things are not always agreeable to other people. But if we can find some common ground, that's what we build upon, right? Okay, so let's go with our next portrait. Oh, the stars. I love to see the stars. The stars is, that healing energy, a little bit of wish fulfillment. Let's see, I kind of feel like that, it kind of had that indication of meditation or prayer feel to it. And transformational, endings before new beginnings. Some doors close, another opportunity opens up. So even if it doesn't feel good, just know that, there may be a alternative, higher purpose, okay? That's why I say about delays and challenges. If you encounter a delay or a challenge, it's generally because the divine time has not, it hasn't, it's not the right timing, basically. So you have to honor that, don't always look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as more of a destiny kind of thing. It's meant to be, okay? I love the key to see that key in that lineup, though, which means even if there is a delay, you're going to find the solution, okay? And then the next portrait, the fish are in the center. The fish is like your day-to-day abundance, the things that, kind of like attraction, the things that interest you. The fish is, it's funny because with it being a money card, think about the words, think about interest, right? Everybody wants to get interest on their investment, but it's also, things that you purchase is kind of abundant, things that bring abundance in your life. But it's also like, your think about fish in a school, right? We have to learn about money, right? So, we were always taught to save, but were we shown how to save? Those are important things, things that they should be teaching you in school. I'm a loan officer. They don't teach you in school what you need to do to become a first-time home buyer. The things that they teach you, are not necessarily are of things that you'll even use sometimes, yeah, maybe the concept, but I do feel that there are certain things that should be taught in school that, aren't, and maybe, those are the things that we can, teach our own children, homeschool, right? And then in the last portrait, I see the whip and the sun. That's kind of like hard work is paying off. And the ship is like your ship's coming in feel, okay? And then the moon and the fox, that's a little bit of esoteric, careerish, but it's also bringing clarity. And it could be that there is some, things that you need to look out for, maybe not necessarily, how like you'll think one thing and it'll end up being kind of another. I always say, I've got two eyes to look, but one to see, just really pay attention to your intuition here. Listen to your gut feelings. Okay. And then I see the flowers. The flowers is like a recovery. And then the birds is communication. And the book is mystery. It's, but it's knowledge. Knowledge is power. And that's what I think this portrait is indicating, because the sun is there and then that whip. Knowledge is powerful. Okay. And every day we learn. If we're not learning, we're not growing. Okay. Okay, let's see. Oh, I see the man in the book is our bottom corners, and then we've got the lily, and we have the ship. So the lily and the ship, that's kind of like a career. It's maybe a project that we're working on. But I feel like it is coming along nicely though. Might be something new you're doing, learning something new. Um, I always like to learn things that are new. It's kind of what, doing these cards, it has really been a journey of growth and discovery. I'll tell you that. Looking at all the different combinations and in different contexts and scenarios, and there's so much. It's so multi-layered, and things kind of weave together, and I just love it. It's like solving a puzzle, and it is like a puzzle. That last piece kind of moves into place, and then you have like this aha moment of what it's trying to tell us. But yeah, I do see a new project, and I do see a break in the clouds, and I see a lucky break, and a little bit of fool rush in, but trust that, trust it, because I feel like that intuition, as long as you're kind of using your own internal guidance system, that'll really tell you. Just like anything, I don't care if it's a food you're going to eat, or if it's, something that, you're wondering whether it's good for you or not. Hold it in your heart space. If you tip forward, it's a yes. If you tip back, it's no. And I always say, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So see, what else do I see? I see a little bit of, maybe migration, movement, but a little bit of something didn't work out. So like a false start feel. Okay, how like you get so eager, and before they the gun, what do they do? Before the start of a race, and sometimes there's a little bit of a false start. That has that feeling of gun shy, or what's the other word I was looking for here? Like kind of spook the horse feel. Don't have no fear. That's my courage card as well. You have to tackle things in the face of fear, even if it doesn't feel comfortable. You still have to put one foot in front of the other. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps feel, and move forward, march forward. There's no giving up. Giving up is not an option. That's what it says right here. So let's see what else. I do see a little bit of things that might cause a little bit of nervous energy, or grievances, or maybe somebody's getting on your nerves a little bit. Could be a child. It could be a pet. Oh my gosh, Roxy just barked. Yeah, there's confirmation. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, I think it can apply to a lot of different things, I'm sure, for each and every one of us, just depending on our scenario that we're dealing with at the current moment. Heck, I might be getting on people's nerves, right? Oh, but you still have to be you. You still have to be authentic, and you still have to, don't dim your own light, okay? Or don't let others dim your light. You need to be who you are. People are going to love you for who you are, right? And if they don't love you, then love me or leave me feel, right? I know distance can matter. Distance is like either a long distance relationship, or it could be, two people that have grown apart. And what can you do to pull that back together? We always think that, it might not be possible, but if you want something bad enough, you work for it, right? You don't give up. All right, let's see, what else do I see? Yeah, the bear and that snake, that has that, one's coming out of hibernation and one is, shedding its skin feel. So like I said before, I feel like, everything kind of takes a little bit of time to learn, and, everybody's fresh out of the gates feel, but, and maybe what didn't work before, you change the course, see what works and what doesn't work, and then adjust accordingly. But finances are in the middle. So, I feel like maybe a financial advisor or investment broker or realtor or something in that genre, I feel is in order. Okay, one or all of them possibly, but that is in the focal spot, right? Well, I'm a loan officer, and that kind of is indicated as well. You know, a home, that's why I love what I do, is because it's kind of like, helping people's dreams become a reality. I see the value in that and the importance of it. And my nature has always been to help others. So I was like, this is like perfect for me. But even these card readings, I feel, is very similar in that, I do feel that it offers value, and I do feel that it is helping other people, even if it's just to learn how the cards work, teaching and what each card meanings have. And everybody has their own interpretations, but like the key and the tower, that's that is the key to the castle feel to it, right? Oh boy, I had to stop the video. I got a phone call. Sorry about that. Well, where I was the key and the castle, key to the castle feel, but it can also be a key to something that is of importance, or something higher level. And then I see that the flowers are there, so that is like a recovery. And then the heart and the bear, that's like a big love. And then we've got the snake and the birds. That's kind of a little bit of, it could be a little bit of gossip, but it could be, I feel like it would be speak your truths. Okay, so these are the things that we are all dealing with, about using our voice and speaking with authority and speaking with authenticity and speaking from the heart. Okay, and then I see the scythe in the mountain. That is like a breakthrough feel to it. And then the crossroads are right after that, so things are opening up to knowledge, right? So I just feel that all of this is a learning experience, that we can, gather insight and help one another through this thing we call life, right? I wish I could play Prince's song right now. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to discuss this thing called life, right? Well, I love you all. Until next week, you have a blessed week. And if you'd like a personal reading, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to sit down with you. Bye-bye now.